Tonight, restrictions to ease as the Omicron variant reaches its peak in South Australia, and the state's education union calls off a planned teacher strike.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. South Australia's Premier has announced major changes to restrictions, with the number of active cases continuing to decline. The announcement comes as another rapid antigen test collection hub opens in the Spencer Gulf.
It's a positive sign for things to come for residents across the Spencer Gulf. Some COVID-19 restrictions will be lifted as of 1 minute past midnight tonight.
I really do want to genuinely congratulate every single South Australian. On the 26th of December, we were really facing a very uncertain future with the rise of Omicron.
The biggest change, no QR codes required for those visiting retail centres, but remain in effect for hospitality and health. 50% indoor density now restored for restaurants and eateries, bringing much needed relief to the sector. The resumption of elective surgeries now allowed for children.
We are 100% convinced that this is the right way to go to ease these restrictions. Some people were talking about and being hopeful that we might ease these restrictions in mid-February.
The Premier announcing the state may have passed its Omicron peak, paving the way for the easing of restrictions to be done on a fortnightly basis if the current trend continues.
The steps that we're taking today are well-considered steps that provide some latitude to those industries that are most affected. There are more changes to come as we continue to improve.
A new rapid antigen test site has also opened in Kimber and Port Pirie, bringing the number of centres in our region to 6. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Wild weather, road closures and state COVID regulations have said to have stopped various Aboriginal communities from returning home to the APY lands. Stuck in Port Augusta, some say many are living in poor conditions, unaware of when this limbo will end.
Displaced and can't get home.
How are they going to go back home?
People visiting Port Augusta from the APY lands say they've become trapped, living in dismal conditions with COVID infections rampant. With the roads back now closed, the state government is being asked where these people can go.
They come from the lands, they come from all over the place. Went to Adelaide, see their families and wanted to go back to the lands and they got stranded.
A lot of people have been displaced because of COVID and the restrictions back to their own communities, and they can't return, so a lot of people are just staying around here.
With nowhere else to go, the community of 30 plus people say they've had to stay in a broken shelter adjacent to the Davenport community. It is understood 8 of the occupants tested positive for COVID.
This area where they camp, it's only about 5 minutes walk to the community, probably even less. So yeah, it's just too close.
The state government says a new quarantine test site is now being constructed on the west side of the city.
The Department of Human Services is putting provisions in place for them. My understanding is that we're going to have some temporary accommodations set up as quickly as possible, certainly by early next week.
But for some, it's too little, too late.
The issues that the community are facing were not only foreseeable, they were foreseen. We advised the Premier and his advisors of the accumulating numbers of people.
It's a shame to have people living like this. You know, in modern days, we need people to be helped.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Community members are calling for heightened security measures at the Port Lincoln Hospital. A petition has been launched, demanding action be taken to ensure the safety of staff.
Workers at the Port Lincoln Hospital concerned for their safety. Reports of violent acts towards staff a growing concern, with the community calling for improved security.
There's a real challenge at Port Lincoln Hospital around some of the violent acts which we've seen. People in their own workplace being unsafe is something which we really can't stand for.
The Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation launching a petition which has already gained more than 1,000 signatures. The Liberal candidate for Flinders saying trained security is essential.
We need to have properly trained security staff in place so that it's not the nurses that are doing the heavy security lifting. We've got to have people who can be called on when there is an incident to make sure it's stopped before it becomes something greater.
The Federation issued reports of an incident where a nurse was allegedly punched in the stomach by a patient in Air Ward B. An investment in security hoping to combat these attacks.
The investment in security officers here will mean that our nurses are actually going to be in a safe working environment.
Telfer saying the hospital needs to follow the example of others in the region.
We've seen examples in other regional hospitals of this being put in place, so it really is something which can be copied and put in place here at Port Lincoln because there is a real need.
The Arid Far North Local Health Network says it has improved security, provided staff training to prevent and respond to challenging behaviour, and it continues to invest in improved responses to ensure it can provide the safest work environment it can. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
South Australia's teachers have voted to postpone strike action following union discussions with the state government. A ballot was opened last night, deciding to delay next Wednesday's one-day stoppage. The AEU says it's accepted Chief Public Health Officer Professor Nicholas Spurrier's advice regarding blanket testing. Voting closed at 5 o'clock this afternoon. A 13-year-old boy will face youth court after he allegedly stole a car and petrol yesterday. Police received reports of a stolen station wagon from an Andrew Farm address. It's alleged the boy filled the car up with fuel in Snowtown and drove off without paying. Officers stopped the car outside Whyalla on the Lincoln Highway just before 9 a.m. by using spike strips. He was refused bail. Still to come tonight, the update from Clean Seas on its fish farming operations in Whyalla and the call for more workers to fill urgent vacancies in the Mid-North. Welcome back. A new drought resilience plan in the Mid-North is aiming to take pressure off struggling farmers. The program is hoping to see better access to water and give farmers respite, with more social support from surrounding communities.
It's been an unusual week of wild weather, but despite the heavy rainfall, farmers are still preparing for a drought. The Northern and York Landscape Board and Regional Development Australia teaming up to provide more water and better support for the region's farmers.
It's a really exciting opportunity to think about what local communities need from a future planning perspective, to think about the implications of climate change and what we need to do to make sure that our communities become really strong and resilient through future droughts.
The plan could see farmers accessing water from reservoirs in the region.
That'll be one of the things that we look to understand more about. Again, it's really about understanding what do we prepare for today, how do we prepare, what do we need to sort of improve our preparations for, and then we need to explore every opportunity available to us.
Farmers will also benefit from more social activities in their surrounding communities to help improve their mental health while a drought is happening.
Those activities that bring people together, even when things are tough, become really important. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're putting the right measures in place, that those communities can still come together, even when they're having some really significant challenges on the land.
More than $100 million of federal funding will be put into this year's drought relief support. Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Clean Seas will update the Whyalla community on February 7th in regards to its operations. The company's controversial kingfish farm on Fitzgerald Bay was approved by council last year. CEO Rob Grattan says the operations are now well established with all juvenile fish in their pens. He also reassured the community the company is working under strict EPA and PIRSA regulations. Meeting details can be found on council's website. The construction of overtaking lanes on the Lincoln Highway has resumed after wild weather brought it to a stop. Local MPs say while works are slowing down commutes, they will well and truly speed up travel time when completed.
Roadworks back up and moving. Work has recommenced this week on the construction of new overtaking lanes on the Lincoln Highway.
It's really important for transportation. I mean, why have a duplicated bridge if you have a single highway when you're trying to go another 100 k's?
The new overtaking lanes between Whyalla and Port Augusta, part of a $16 million investment from both the federal and state governments. Answering calls from local community members asking for the commute to be made faster and safer. However, wild weather that lashed the region this weekend slowed progress significantly. Water over the road making it impossible for crews to continue the levelling and layering of crusher dust.
It's disappointing that the Mother Nature is struck on the highway duplication between Port Augusta and Whyalla. Probably a great thing that not too much bitumen and so forth to be freshly laid, because that would not be there today.
The situation raising concerns of possible delays to the project's timeline.
I am concerned about the slowness of both the federal government and the state government to do a full-on duplication of the highway between Port Wakefield and Port Augusta.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
More than 300 jobs are up for grabs in the Mid-North, with demand for more workers in care, agriculture and hospitality increasing. Despite the region having the lowest unemployment rate in history, employers are urging for positions to be filled.
It's the perfect time to apply for a job. Employers are screaming for workers with more than 300 job vacancies in the Mid-North, around 100 jobs available in Port Pirie. Regional Development Australia setting up an online job board on the Upper Spencer Gulf Jobs website, offering a wide range of different career opportunities.
We've got a really good measure of what's available for people in the local area, and they can make an informed decision.
Jobs in the care sector at the top of the list as employers struggle to keep up with the demand.
Care has certainly increased. It's grown exponentially with regards to the amount of vacancies and the unmet need in that area, because it is a growing industry.
The RDA is willing to assist in training and studying costs for those who are interested in becoming a carer. Hospitality jobs are also up for grabs, despite the industry suffering through COVID restrictions and capacity limits.
With retraining and getting people ready for that when tourism really opens up again. So it's very, very keen to make sure that we've got a trained and ready workforce to meet those needs.
The unemployment rate in the Mid-North currently sits at 5.2% and is expected to drop even further in the coming months. Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. The colourful Love Mural returns to Port Lincoln's foreshore, and the outlook for this year's St Patrick's race returning in full force in Broken Hill. Hello again. Port Lincoln has welcomed back its famous Love Mural to its popular foreshore. This year the sign was painted by a talented local artist who was eager to share her positive message with the community.
A message of love. This year's sign getting a new look, with Bungala artist Vera Richards creating the mural.
It was encompassing love for all things, not just us, but all things nature, this beautiful world, Mother Yara, that we live on.
In collaboration with the Port Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Tourism, Vera took 6 days to complete the piece. The theme of love more prominent than ever.
This is one of the biggest messages that we can send around about unity and being a united front and caring for oneself and caring for others and caring for Mother Nature.
The sign revealed on Australia Day, acknowledging its history.
The message that we've got here is a sign of respect and reconciliation, and not forgetting about where we've come from. We've layered it through with a sign of love.
Port Lincoln's Mayor recognising Vera's hard work.
Vera Richards from the Bungala Mob has done a fantastic job in putting the signage together, and if you can see behind me, you can see that it's just fantastic what's happened, and it's a sign of where we're going into the future together.
The love structure is set to be a draw card for locals and visitors, with Valentine's Day on the horizon. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Rural ambassadors in South Australia will be given a boost thanks to new state government funding. The program highlights the work younger residents do to make their communities a better place to live. $130,000 will be given to the Agricultural Societies Council of South Australia.
It's been running for quite a number of years now, getting them involved in the community and making sure that we get future leaders into the community.
It's tremendously important and greatly appreciated because those funds are used for the running costs of the 3 different competitions.
The funding will help with running the competitions over a 2-year period. Broken Hill St Patrick's race is returning this year, bigger and better than last year. Going back to an 8-race card after being restricted due to COVID-19 measures, the event is sure to be a welcome day for the community.
Mark your calendars and get your favourite suit or dress ready. The St Pat's races are coming back, bigger and better. The annual race meeting returning to 8 races after New South Wales Racing cut it to only 6 last year due to COVID.
Very lucky due to the generosity and sponsorship within the Broken Hill community, we can now go back to a full 8 races, which means more horses, which means more trainers and more connections will travel to Broken Hill for the race meeting.
The event brings people from Victoria to South Australia and even Queensland. Even former Broken Hill residents return and reunite with old friends.
It really is an event in March that kickstarts the tourist year, and we're hoping it'll really do it in a big way this year.
While some people may be reluctant to travel, organisers are hoping to get around 3,000 people in attendance. Early indicators show bookings have already been strong, especially in both the corporate and picnic areas. Organisers are hoping to get back to where they were 2 years ago, so people can have a great time.
The Radford family will be sponsoring a race named after their late father, Gary. Gary passed away a couple of years ago, and he was a fantastic supporter of the entire community, but more so of St Pat's. So we've got a special race.
For more information on the event, visit the St Pat's website or Facebook page. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our cricket experts will share their tips for weekend matches. And we'll have the weekend weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Sunny conditions will surely be welcome for cricket matches this weekend across the region. Let's hear from our experts with their tips.
Hello and welcome to round 12 of Port Pirie Cricket. This round sees Props take on Wandera here at Memorial Oval. These two teams are locked on the same points at the top of the table, and this should be a ripper of a game. I'm going to tip Wandera. Over at Port Oval, it's Port Germain taking on Southport. Port Germain need a win to keep their finals hopes alive, while Southport will be looking for a strong performance to get a double chance. I'm going to tip Southport.
Yeah, g'day and welcome to round 3 of the Northern Super League. This competition sees Port Augusta teams play Wyler teams. So this week, Central Wyler will take on Corn at Bennett Oval. Corn should do all right, but I can't see them beating Central Wyler on their home turf. The other match sees North Wyler take on South Augusta at Memorial. This should be another good match. South Augusta are really in good form, so are North Wyler. I'm just going to lean towards home side North Wyler there. Our matches in Port Augusta, we see West Augusta take on Rapina. West Augusta have yet to win a match, and unfortunately I can't see them winning here in Port Augusta. The other one sees West Wyler take on Central Stirling at Corn Oval. Again, this should be a good match, but I'm going to lean towards Central Stirling to beat West Wyler in Corn.
Game of the day in Broken Hill cricket this weekend is definitely the North Central game. North found winning form since Christmas and now looking a real premiership threat. And of course Central sitting on top of the ladder. Some more school teachers returning this week, so they'll get back somewhere near to full strength. So this game looks an absolute ripper. There won't be much in it. I'm thinking that Norths have been the sleeping giant and are starting to find form at the right end of the season, and they may just topple Central in this game in what should be a really good game of cricket for local patrons. In the other game, which is now being played on the Sunday at the Alma Oval, West take on South. South struggling at the moment, and this should be an easy game for West. West will be looking to get some additional points out of this game so they can remain in touch with North and Central.
Welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. Waybacks and Southern Air at Centenary Oval this week. This will be a really good game of cricket. Southern Air top of the ladder. I reckon they'll get the job over Waybacks, but don't be surprised if we see an upset result here. In the next game is Charlton versus Tasmans at Poole. Tasmans coming off a good win against Todd River, whilst Charlton unexpectedly lost to Waybacks last game. Going to tip Tasmans to get over the line here in another good game of cricket. This week also sees representatives head over to Adelaide to play for the Eyre Peninsula. Best of luck to the whole Eyre Peninsula team. Thanks for listening to Port Lincoln Cricket Tips.
The weekend is upon us, so let's take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and good evening, everyone. A number of warnings are current for the region amid that flooding that hit the Eyre Peninsula earlier this week. They include a generalised flood warning for Cooper Creek, an initial flood watch for the northwest pastoral districts, and a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Flinders and the northeast pastoral districts. Now to a closer look at today's temperatures. At 3 p.m, Wyler was partly cloudy and 25. It was humid in Port Pirie with 29, and Cooper Pedy was 30 degrees. Looking further out now, Port Augusta and Woodna got to 29, Port Lincoln, Kadina and Cleve reached 24 degrees. Broken Hill had showers and was 37. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud bubbling over the southeast with a trough is causing showers and storms, some intense. Scattered cloud over the north and west with another trough is bringing some showers and storms. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southwest to southerly winds 15 to 20 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swell below 1 metre. Partly cloudy across the region tomorrow. Port Lincoln and Cleve both set to reach 25 degrees. Woodna will get to a top of 31, Whyalla with 28. Port Augusta will be humid and 31, and it'll be a degree cooler in Kadina with a top of 30 degrees there. Port Pirie will be humid with a top of 33. Clare is set to reach 29, and Broken Hill will get to a top of 32 degrees. To Sunday, it will continue to be humid in Port Augusta with 36. Port Pirie mostly sunny and humid with 34. Possible shower in Cooper Pedy and 35. 26 and partly cloudy in Port Lincoln. Broken Hill will have a possible shower and reach 32 degrees. A look at next week's forecast now. It'll reach 35 degrees in Port Pirie, Woodna, Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill. Port Lincoln 27, Whyalla humid and partly cloudy with 32 degrees. Port Augusta 36, Kadina and Adelaide 33. And to Tuesday now, Port Pirie and Cooper Pedy both 30 degrees. Port Lincoln 23, partly cloudy in Broken Hill, set to reach 31 degrees there. Port Augusta 28 and Whyalla will be 26 degrees. So it's not looking too bad over the weekend at all, Ruby, and that's all the weather from me for tonight. See you later this evening with an update, and I hope those impacted by the floods stay safe and dry. It's back to you.
Great, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Friday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening and your weekend. John Hunt and the team will see you again on Monday. Good night.